Hey, this video is for Greek class, and this goes along with Croy chapter 16 in your textbook. So if you wanted to get your textbook and follow along, that would be a great way to do this. It covers the sixth principal part, the final one, and this is both aorist passive and future passive. They go together. We've been holding off on them until now. Here's the way to recognize them, and recognition is key to the game. I don't think you have to memorize anything here. You have to recognize. Aorist passive indicatives have this theta, eta infix. So you're going to look for a theta and an eta. Future passives have a theta, eta, and a sigma. No surprise, because futures always have a sigma, right? And so it's going to look like this. This is the verb you know, pisteuo, I believe. That's just the present tense. But if I want to throw it into the aorist passive, I was believed, I need the epsilon at the beginning, because that's what you always have for an aorist. And now I have a theta, eta, I was believed. If I want to say I will be believed, pisteu, theta, eta, sigma, I will be believed. Okay, this is how you form the aorist passive indicative. You start with the sixth principal part. The reason we treat that separately is because some words are unusual. We'll get to that eventually. You add an epsilon to the beginning, you add a theta and an eta, and you add the primary active endings, which are the same endings as the present tense. So this is them. The lu, you start with the stem, you add the epsilon to the beginning, then you add the theta and the eta, and then in this case you do add a nu, so it's a little bit different than the present active endings, but not much. You're going to be able to recognize this. And it looks like this, eluthane. You add the epsilon to the front of the stem, lu, theta, eta, and sigma, eluthes, that's the second person singular, eluthe, that's the third person, eluthamen, that's the first person plural, eluthete, that's the second person plural, you're familiar with that, elutheson, that's the third person plural. And it means something like this: I was loosened, you were loosened, he, she, it was loosened, we were loosened, y'all were loosened, they were loosened. And you might say to me, like, how is this different from what we already learned of the aorist middle? It is partly different because you're not usually going to have the same verbs appear in the middle and in the passive. And so this is going to hold its own set of verbs for the most part. I'm just showing you off of the cleanest example that I have, which is like luo or pisteuo. But most verbs actually, it's going to be a unique set of things that are either going to be in the middle or in the passive. It also maybe has a few different contexts in which like the middle is either acting upon itself or the passive is now receiving an action that can't be enacted upon itself. So these are them. Epistuthane, epistuthes, epistuthane, epistuthamen, epistuthete, epistutheson. And now you want to say something like was. I was believed, you were believed, he, she, it was believed, we were believed, y'all were believed, they were believed. So epistuthane, epistuthes, epistuthe, epistuthamen, epistuthete, epistutheson. To form the future, you start with the sixth principal part, the aorist passive stem, and there's no augment because it's in the future. Augments are all about past tense. You add a theta, eta, and a sigma in this case, and the sigma is what's helping you. And then you add the primary middle passive endings, and so this actually looks closer to a middle passive. It's going to look like this. Lu is your stem. Face is the infix. Omai is what you already know, so luthesomai. Luthes a, luthes etai, luthes ametha, luthes esthe, and luthes ontai. If you literally took out the thes, you would have just the present middle passive. So luomai, lue, luetai. This is what you already know. So recognition is the key to the game, not memorization. You don't have to memorize something new. You have to recognize the theta, eta, sigma as future passive. This is it. Luthesomai, luthese, luthesetai, luthesometha, lutheseste, luthesontai. I will be loosened, you will be loosened, he, she, it will be loosened, we will be loosened, y'all will be loosened, they will be loosened. You can do it with this verb, pisteuo, that's what I prefer. Pisteuthesomai, pisteuthese, pisteuthesetai, pisteuthesometha, theis este, pistou theis ontai. It sounds like a lot, it's a mouthful, but it follows the rules and it's very, very regular like this. So these are them: pistou theisomai, pistou theise, pistou theisetai, pistou theisomatha, pistou theistheste, and pistou theis ontai. Let me give you some example sentences so you can see this at work, and it will I think, immediately become clear to you what we're doing here. And the epsilon is telling you past. That's the aorist one. They is telling you it's an aorist passive. So ther, pu, thein. Hupo tu curio would be translated, I was healed by the Lord. And we're going to find out that hupo is often helping us with this aorist passive, that it will tell us who is actually doing the thing to you. But it emphasizes the thing being done to you. So you could think about things like Jesus was raised. So the Father raised Jesus. Jesus was raised from the dead is something that appears a lot in the passive in the New Testament. This has important theological implications as well. Su, so theis, a, hupo tu prophetu. You can see the hupo, the by, but in this case, theis, and no epsilon at the front. This is a future. You will be healed by the prophet. So the prophet is healing, but the emphasis is on you being healed, not you doing it for yourself, but somebody else doing it to you. Hoi, lagoi, su, ekus thesan, hupo tu theu. It looks like a theis, but you have to pay attention to the aku at the beginning. It has become aku. So once you've got that long vowel, pause and make yourself think. So by God, what happens? Your words were heard. So it's in the past tense, by God. So those are some really good example sentences for you to kind of think through. The aorist passive infinitive looks like this. It's got a theta and an eta, no surprise, and then nai. So you'd have luthenai, to be loosened, pisteutheni, to be believed. It's not going to necessarily be translated differently than what we've done so far for other passives or middles. For now, let's just go with this, and we'll learn more about infinitives next semester. Notice there's no epsilon augment for this, so even when it's in the aorist passive, it's not going to have an epsilon at the beginning to help you out. You just have to notice the theta, eta. And then one other tricky thing about these, but you've kind of already seen this, so you're not totally thrown by it. The Perfect did a little version of this, is that certain consonant stems, when they come in contact with that theta, you've got so many sounds together. So like when you have puzz or buzz, something that's up here in your labials, like pemp, they, it becomes really hard to say that, so they actually go with pemph, they, to kind of smooth it out. A kappa or a gamma that's a little bit further back and toward the top, they're going to make that kss to give it more sound. So instead of ago, you have ache, thane, and that's one you're just going to also learn because it's one of the unusual ones. It's in your unusual list for this chapter. A t, a d, or a th, something that's a dental, when it comes into contact with a theta, is going to make an S sound because it just smooths it out. So instead of patho, I persuade, pace, vain, I was being persuaded. And then or k is going to now come in contact with that theta, and we're going to just smooth the whole thing out by making a f sound. So graph, the is actually going to be losing the theta. So those are pretty unusual. So I think the majority of the time, 96, 97% of the time, you're going to find the theta and you're going to be fine. Something like agrafane we'll have to work on if we've come in contact with something like that. Here's the main things for recognizing it. It's these, that the aorist passive has this infix of theta, eta, and an epsilon augment at the beginning, and the future has an infix of theta, eta, sigma. If you focus on that, that's what's going to help you with this. And then translating these, we'll have to do it in context, but as you can see with the hupo, which you often get, it's going to make sense. The sentences will make sense, and so don't worry about you trying to figure out which tense it should be in. Just accept the tense that they've given it to you, and you make sure that you identify and recognize if this is an aorist passive, so something in the past, or if it's a future passive and something in the future. That's the main thing that you're paying attention to at this point. This is our last verb tense principal part, so that's awesome. And so you have made it pretty much through the indicative verbal system. That's great. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, you can bring those questions to class and we can talk about them there. I look forward to this. This is very exciting. We've made it through basically the whole verbal system in the indicative. So this is a huge deal.